Great.
Good
So
afternoon and Happy New Year. Welcome to today's nonprofit webinar on discovering the power of monthly giving. I'm Dora Wong, one of the Nonprofit Net board members. And before we get to our presentation, I just want to let you know that we appreciate your comments on today's program. So you'll be receiving a survey at the conclusion of today's Zoominar. Another way that you can help us is that we do keep our webinars free at no charge. And as a result, we do have expenses, and we hope that you'll consider supporting us with a donation of $10 or $20. I'll be copying in links in our feedback survey and also through the donation page. So I want to thank you in advance. Today, I'm pleased to introduce our presenter, Erica Wasdorp, an expert on fundraising, particularly in the area of monthly donors. Welcome, Erica.
thanks, Dora. I'm really excited to be here. So here you are, or here I am. So I've literally written 2 books on monthly giving, and I love the power of monthly giving. So I'm really excited that you're here today with the good intentions to focus on this. So what we're going to talk about today is just a couple of trends, because monthly giving continues to grow, which is really exciting. But also that you don't need a lot of money and just a little bit of time to invest in growing your monthly donors. And it starts with basically creating I call them tiny stories. And then you're actually going to get some handouts, and Dora will send those out after today's webinar along with the presentation. So you're going to get a couple of downloadables, and one of them is like a monthly donor roadmap. So it's all about literally chipping away at these steps to start growing your monthly donors. And then I hope that we're going to have some time at the end. I know some of you have submitted some questions ahead of time, so I printed those out. So hopefully we'll get to those. But also at the end, you will find my contact information. So if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to send me an email and I will respond to you. So, because again, it's like the power is huge, right? So, so it's all about what is that formula for your organization to grow your monthly giving. So I love this quote because that's really what it comes down to. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. All right, so you have to start planting the seeds. Otherwise, you're never going to grow, right? So just if there's one thing that you take away from today's webinar, is just start. Do one thing and then add to it, right? So, but you got to take that first step. Otherwise, it's never going to happen, right? And again, I love this quote, especially during COVID. There was a lot of organizations that were really oh, what's going on? And those organizations that had monthly giving, that had monthly donors, oh, they were sitting pretty, right? So so since COVID, monthly giving has really taken off even more, right? So, and again, it's not a lot of money to invest anymore. It's a little bit of time. All right, so why are monthly donors so important? Well, they give you that reliable revenue. They're going to actually give you more money than just one-time donors. They can give in a way that's comfortable for them, right? So monthly giving is really very donor-centric. Younger donors love it. Why? Because they're used to subscriptions. Well, monthly giving is kind of like a subscription, right? So it's a way that they can support the organization that they care about. It also it like makes use of your resources in a very efficient way, right? You can plan on the money to be there. You can say, okay, well, I know that for sure, for certain, this money comes in, so I can expend this money here. But also, monthly donors are 6 times more likely to leave you in their will. So legacy gifts will come from a lot of these, what we call like relatively small donors, right? So that also helps increase the lifetime value of these donors. And then retention rates improve. And again, we're all struggling to find that golden nugget. We're all trying to keep the donors that we have and then try to upgrade them to higher levels, right? So here's an example of how those retention rates are improving. I mean, if I look at the most recent trends, it's like some organizations are seeing like 43% of their one-time donors who are making another gift. Well, if you can get a donor to give monthly, now that's going to go up to like 85, 90, 95%, depending upon what payment type they're using. So retention rates will absolutely improve. In many cases, they double, right? So this is a major, major reason. If you're like trying to I know I saw one person says, well, I'm struggling to convince the board that we need to spend a little bit of time on monthly giving. And this is one big reason why monthly giving is so powerful, because you will keep the donors that you have. But also, guess what? We have major, major disaster wildfires in California, right? I mean, we've gone into, a pandemic. We have hurricanes. I mean, we might get a nor'easter in New England, right? So you just don't know. But with monthly giving, you can plan on that unrestricted revenue. Monthly giving is unrestricted. It helps you to keep your lights on. It helps you to keep your operating going, right? So no matter what happens, where it happens, and when it happens, you can plan on that unrestricted revenue to be there no matter what. Now let's look at a couple of definitions here. And because you hear a lot of different terminologies, right? Do you hear recurring donors? You might hear sustainers, committed givers, monthly givers, regular givers, or maybe a specific name, like Charity Water calls their group the Spring. So I'd love to know in the chat, and Dora will take a look at it. It's like, do you have a name for your monthly giving program? So just like answer that question in the chat. So do you have a name for your monthly giving program? Now, and while you're doing that, just a couple of other reasons why monthly giving is so powerful, right? Because monthly donors will give you more money. Let's look at the lifetime value. Again, this is a study that Neon One did amongst its organizations last year. And they saw that the average lifetime value of a nonprofit recurring donor is almost 8 years. So it's not like, oh, well, they're coming in, they make a one-time gift, and then you lose them after a year. No, they're going to stay with you for more than 7 years, right? And again, those organizations that have been doing monthly giving for even longer than that, they're seeing that some of their donors, I mean, I work with an organization right now, they have about 35,000 monthly donors. And some of their monthly donors have been giving monthly for 20 years. So again, that lifetime value is absolutely huge, right? They're going to stay with you for a very long time. All right, let's see if anybody has any names here. All right. Let's see. Monthly miracle makers, the butterfly effect. All right. Um, gems, give every month. Great. Sustainer Society, Empowerment Circle. All right. Excellent. So that's great. Those are all great names. And again, we'll get into the details as to why it's helpful to have a name, but don't fret if you don't have one yet, right? So it just helps you with your recognition and your stewardship down the road. All right, so let's ask you another question. Because again, we have a nice mix of organizations in the room here, like, how many monthly donors do you have? Is it like less than 10? Is it like between 10 and 50? More than 100? How many monthly donors do you have in your organization? And just again, just type in the chat. So Kathy says less than 10. Sharon less than 10, 45, 90 to 100 at any given time, Stephanie says. All right. Less than 10, 10 to 50. Okay. Less than 10, 1, Lori. Yeah, less than 10, 135. I saw Arnold on there, so he's going to blow me away. But so so again, you see it's all over the map, right? So, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to start somewhere, right? So, and I guess the other thing is, like, if you look back at those 10 of or 15 people that you have, how did they come on board? Did they decide that themselves, or did they come in because you did start to do some promotion, right? Because what I find, like, a lot of times is, like, donors will self-identify. Again, giving monthly is a very donor-centric way of giving. So so they might say, yeah, I'll give monthly. But again, you also have to make it a little bit easy for the donor to find, and where can they sign up, right? How can they join your program? All right. So a couple of other things. And again, this is a great chart to share with your board. If you have 100 monthly donors, now right now, the industry average gift is about $25 a month. So that's $300 a year. So 100 monthly donors are worth $30,000. So what I recommend that you do is look at your number of monthly donors, you just shared it, and then what's that average gift? What's that average annual gift? So what's the value that you have right now before you start promoting further, right? So that's your benchmark. So where are you at in your organization? How many monthly donors you have? What's their average yearly gift? And what is it worth on an annual basis? Now, I just shared with you, on average, that lifetime value is about 8 years. So what if you take that value that you just wrote and multiplied by 8? So that's why starting now with monthly giving is so powerful, right? So again, create your benchmark. That's like number one. You just shared how many monthly donors you have. What are they worth? And again, a lot of times you might be blown away if you annualize it and if you take it times 8, right? So create your benchmarks. And if you know what that benchmark is, let me know. I'd love to know, because again, you'll be blown away by it. Now, why do donors want to give monthly? The reality is it's not that much different from one-time giving, right? Donors want to help. They care, right? But also, we just established monthly giving is very donor centric. It's a way that they can make a difference in an amount that it's comfortable for them. It fits their lifestyle, it fits where they are. If they're retired, they might be on a fixed income. Well, maybe they can consider making a $5 to $10 or $25 a month gift, right? So, but ultimately, it's still all about donors want to help. So we just need to ask them to consider a monthly gift. Now, what are the key elements when you do that, when you're starting to ask them to consider a monthly gift? Commitment. If you're not committed to this program, then it's going to be really, really hard to grow, right? So, if I'm in a room, a lot of times I ask a question like, show of hands, are you giving monthly yourself right now? So I see a couple people on here, like, show your hand. Yes. Okay, Sharon, absolutely. So in other words, give a monthly gift, ideally to your own organization, right? But join a couple of other organizations that you say, hey, I admire what they're doing. Let me just see what they're doing, right? When I join. So, but definitely you want to be committed to your program, right? So I highly recommend that you join your own program and maybe join a couple of other programs just to see what's going on. But you got to be committed because you're asking the donor to be committed for a long time, right? Okay, so that's one. You got to be committed to wanting to grow this. And again, monthly giving is not something like, yeah, we're doing something in January and then we're forgetting it for the rest of the year. No, you need to be always be mindful of where are the opportunities. And I'm going to share a couple of opportunities with you today. Systems. Well, when I started in monthly giving almost 32 years ago, it was mail and phone. Online did not exist, people. So that was not a thing, right? So it was very complicated and it was actually pretty expensive to grow monthly giving because you had to have the systems and these like heavy mainframes and all of that stuff in place. Now that has changed. And I'd love to know too, is like, let me know what platform are you using? Let me know by the chat. What are you using now to manage your online gifts? What platform are you using? Is it like a Razor's Edge product? Is it like Give Butter or For Good Cause, Little Green Light? I mean, what Donor Perfect, Boomerang, Stripe, Classy? Okay, great. Fundraise. All right. So you see there all these different systems, right? And every single system has the recurring giving option built in. All right. It's not been that long. I mean, it's been about like 10 years, maybe 12 years. But now the systems are there. So you don't even have to worry about it, right? It's there. You just have to push people to go there. And then you got these tangible amounts. And we're going to share that a little bit. Like, how can you make donors understand how their monthly gift is making a difference? And then storytelling. Again, storytelling, you're already doing that. You're telling stories about how the donor can make a difference, right? You're telling stories about why the donor should give to you. So these are really your four key elements for growth. But the fifth element, and again, I kind of already said it, like you have to be committed, right? So what that means is you have to basically be the driver, right? So again, if you say, well, I don't know, whatever, I'll do something, but then then it's never going to work, right? So you need to say, look, this year, 2025, brand new year, let's commit and make this happen, right? So that person, that's going to be the driver. They're going to keep that program on track. And again, if you do this, I can guarantee you, you will grow. All right. So we talked a little bit about storytelling. And I recommend that you start with like what I call like a mini story. So what can you say in one line that a monthly gift will do for your mission, for your organization? So, and again, I'm going to share a couple of examples, but sit down and think, okay, what will a monthly gift do? How will that help the constituents, the folks that you're supporting, right? And again, it can be pretty generic. Like this is one example. A monthly donation is the most effective way to help families year round. Some of you may probably use that, right? It will make a difference every day and every month for people in need, right? But here are a few other examples. You can help create lasting change. Your gift will help us plan ahead and do even more to break the cycle of poverty for families, right? Your monthly gift helps sustain the programs and services that military families rely on. So, what is one line that you can say that a monthly gift will do? And again, don't overthink it. You can always tweak it, but just say, okay, if you become a monthly donor, then we can plan on the money being there and we can make sure that we can build a new home or we can have put people in a shelter, whatever it is that you're doing in your organization. So start with a one-liner. That you may already have that, right? Take a look at what you're saying in your one-time gift messaging now, and how can you use that same thing? Like your monthly gift will create lasting change. It will help people every month, right? On an ongoing basis. So these are just a couple of examples that you can steal from or borrow from, right? And why is that one-liner important? Because you're going to use that on your donation forms. You're going to use that in emails. You're going to use that on websites, right? So you really have to say, be very clear and think, okay, this is what your monthly donation will do. A monthly donation, the most effective way to help families year round. Push them to the monthly gift. Now, I asked you earlier, what payment platforms are you using? And again, a lot of you have different ones. So if your system allows, I recommend that if you haven't done this already, that you create a monthly only page. So you will always have the one-time plus monthly. And again, this is like one example of what this looks like, and I'll show you a couple of other examples as well. But so make sure that the one-time donation page always has the make this a recurring gift, or, or again, has a toggle like this one, right? But also create a monthly only page where you want to drive people to go. So I'd love to know if you have one of those monthly donation pages already in place. Let me know. Yes, yes. So if you have that, and I know for sure, Dorn Perfect and Classy and Bloom, they can all. Okay, great, awesome. All right, so super. Okay, because what you want to do is you want to drive people to go there. Right. So again, also take a look at what else you can do in your system. Like, can you do a light box? This is like a for a good cause. It's another payment platform, and fundraise and Classy and I think Bloomerang. So a lot of the systems now can allow for like a light box. So take a look and say, make an inventory, say, hey, I haven't looked at this in a while. Can I do a light box? Now, what does that mean? What's a light box or a modal? What does that mean? So you see it here on the right. So the donor makes a one-time gift, and then just before they complete their one-time gift, it says, before you go, would you consider converting this to a monthly gift? This, you see that on the right, this process has really helped by saying, donor might say, yeah, you know what? That's going to create lasting change, or it's going to help even more people, right? So yeah, why not, right? So it's a very targeted approach for somebody who is ready to make a gift, and now you're asking them to turn that into a monthly gift, right? And again, a lot of these tools, they use an amount based on the one-time gift that they're ready to make. So you're not over asking. So it's like, but it's a very successful approach to convert a one-time donor to a monthly donor without it hurting your one-time gifts. And I hear that the abandon rate is virtually nil. So so again, take a look and see if your system can allow this, because we're in a new year. We're not in the busy giving season. So now is a really good time to do a little bit of testing and see what happens. So I'd love to know if you know if your system can handle a light box. Let me know in the chat. And again, here is just another example of a monthly only page that actually sits on a special landing page. So there's a little bit more information. Become a hero of hope. Little as $10 a month. You can help feed a hungry family and support all of the work that we do, right? You make a life-saving difference each and every day of the year. So these are just a couple of ways that you can plant the seed about monthly giving. And again, you see here, credit card and checking account is on this monthly donor page. Now, why do I recommend that you have a monthly only? Because you want to drive people to go there. And guess what? It's literally as simple as adding a button. I want to show you a homepage for this is a very conservative religious organization, but they do a lot of testing. And by the way, if you're interested in tests done online, go to nextafter.com/research, nextafter.com/research. And there's a gazillion different experiments that they have done. You can look at it free of charge. So you can see this example where on the left, you see they used to have this donate button on the top of the homepage. They tested on the right, adding the give monthly button. And guess what? It doubled the number of monthly donors that they received by just adding that button on the homepage. Donate now, give monthly, right? Side by side, right? So if you can do that, talk to your web person or whoever is doing your website, right? And see if you can do that. So again, it's all about making it easy for the donor to find. So this is one simple step that I recommend. If you haven't done that, take a look and see if you can make that happen. But also, again, you've done the hard work. You've created the special page, right? Start driving donors to that monthly giving page. So in every email, you could consider a second button. And I'm seeing that more and more, right? If you look at World Vision, when they do an email, on the bottom of it says make lasting change, become a subscriber. They call them subscribers for change. So again, every email, they have that second button in there, right? I was talking to an organization last week and they just tested this around their Thanksgiving and they were evaluating the results. And they normally would get like maybe 4 monthly donors whenever they send an email, sort of like as a organic. Now, when they added that button, they got 27. So again, you need to make it easy for the donor to say, yeah, you know what? I can help vets and families year round. I click on that button instead of making a one-time gift, right? And again, I know people are like, oh, I don't know. Is that going to hurt my one-time response? And the reality is, it's a button. It's one email. All right. So what do you have to lose by trying it? Right. I mean, all of the results I'm seeing and hearing, it's not hurting one-time response at all, but it is adding some monthly donors, right? And it's again, it's planting the seed about monthly giving. So maybe in the first email, they might say, I don't know, I'll make a one-time gift. Well, you've got the light box. Maybe you can convert them that way, right? Or like, and then they get another email like 2 weeks or a month later, and they're like, oh, you know what? I thought about it. I think monthly giving would actually be convenient for me, right? So again, it's all about planting the seeds, right? So you got to drive donors to go there and make it easy with these buttons. Here it is, a button to every email on the top. Make a one-time gift or give monthly, right? So it's always there. You see, take a look at what other organizations are doing, and they're doing that. They've tested this. So that's why I recommend it, right? So add a button to your emails. What do you got to lose? It's a button, right? So, but make sure that that give monthly goes to the monthly donor page, right? Uh, Again, use your social media so you can do all of the things that you're already using for your fundraising. But again, ask her a monthly gift, right? So social media works great. So everything that you do always tries directing them to that monthly giving page. But how about like creating your email signature? Whenever you send a note to your donors, whenever you send a note to your to friends and family, in the email signature, help give a local family a fresh start, become a hope builder, right? So again, and you're going to click through to that monthly donor page, right? And then love to know in the chat if you're using welcome emails. So new donors come in. Have you started using welcome emails. A lot more organizations are starting to use these now. And okay, so yeah, Melissa, yeah. So do you have a monthly giving ask in your welcome email? Here's one example. All right, so this organization in Maine, they started out with 15 monthly donors. And the first thing we did was we sent a note to those 15 monthly donors saying, thank you so much for your ongoing monthly support. I would love to find out why you're giving monthly. And they included like a little 6x4 card and a reply envelope. And they were blown away by the testimonials that they were getting from those donors. So that was great. So again, it kind of helped like that relationship, right? Then they added a button to the homepage and they created a welcome email series and added the monthly giving in there. And then they created like a couple of like smaller email campaigns during the year. And then also every email that they sent, they added the monthly giving button in there. So they had a one-time gift and a monthly gift button. And they have about 150 monthly donors now by just a couple of small things that don't cost you anything but a little bit of time, right? So, so consider adding it into your welcome email. Again, if it's easier on your budget, make a monthly donation, right? Um, and then how about if you're sending appeals in the mail, which I hope you do because they still work, right? So consider adding a monthly gift option to your appeal. Here it is, single gift, monthly gift. All right, and you can make choices. I'll give to help a child walk. Ask for bank account information on the back if you can. So in other words, like if your system allows you to accept electronic bank transfer from your donors, start adding asking for bank account information, and not just rely on voided check or first month's check, because a lot of donors don't have checks anymore, but they do know what their bank account information is. So if you have an appeal and you're considering asking for electronic funds transfer for monthly gifts, then I highly recommend that you start adding this example into the mix. Again, this organization is so gung-ho about it. They even have every letter. It says 3 ways to give: mail, online, and monthly, right? And then it clicks right to a special link, right? Or here on the right, there's another organization. They have a PPS, become a monthly sustainer today. It's part of the letter, right? And then you can add a QR code that goes to an online monthly donor page, right? So there's literally no end to where you can add opportunities for your donors to consider making a monthly gift, and it doesn't cost you much, a little bit of space, right? So yeah, Karen says welcome series. Yeah, what made you decide to go? And then you can do a QR code on brochures and events, flyers, and handouts. Absolutely, QR codes are great, right? So and but also I do recommend you QR code and the URL itself, like you see that hopewalks.org. So make it easy for the donor to find, right? But you can consider a buck slip, like a little flyer to an appeal even, or a thank you letter. Will you be a hero? Join Heroes of Hope today, right? It's easy, secure, you control. Again, it's all about planting the seeds, right? But how about doing a postcard? Can you help make a difference? QR code, right? Postcards are great, right? Again, you can be very, very targeted, right? And then in addition with the postcards, you can do an email campaign. And so again, I mean, I know we're in the new year, so think about, are there some special days that fit your organization that you say, oh, I can do something for Valentine's Day, or I can do something for, World Water Day, or I can do something for Earth Day, or, there's like all these different months or days of special awareness days that maybe you can tie in and say, look, we would like to generate 10 new monthly donors by this deadline, by a special day. Will you help? Right. So again, these are emails. And again, you're like trying to get people to go to that monthly donor page, right? And then finally, you've got email, you've got social media, you've got mail. If you're talking to donors on the phone and a donor says, I wish I could do more, right? Then that is a great opportunity to say, well, as a matter of fact, have you heard of our new monthly donor program? And it's really a great way that where that donors help us on an ongoing basis, and they love it, and we love it as well. So would you consider that, right? So if you're like talking to donors on the phone, you can have that conversation, right? And then if you're texting, love to know if you're texting in your organization. If you're texting, again, that's another way to incorporate um, the monthly giving option. This particular thing on the left here is a reminder text, and on the right is a happy birthday. So again, happy birthday. Would you consider like doing something special? So texts are great, and you can use them in many, many different ways in conjunction, especially with some of these other things, right? So it's all really about combining all of these channels, but start with one thing. What is it that you can start with? Can you add something to it? All right, so start with mail and email. Can you add the phone? Can you add some things in digital online? Can you add texting? So take a look and say, what are the channels that I'm communicating with my donors with now? What can I add? um, how can I plant the seeds about monthly giving? I mean, I've given you a bunch of different ideas here, and obviously we only have an hour or so, but just start somewhere, right? Now, I asked earlier if you have a name for your program. The reason why I recommend that you do come up with a name at some point, if you don't have one now, is it helps your recurring donors, your monthly donors feel special. It helps them feel part of a community. But again, don't take 6 months coming up with it. You don't have to spend a lot of money on creating it, right? So just sit down with a couple of folks and brainstorm. I mean, you can literally use GPT now and say, I want a loyal donor program name for this organization, and our mission is XYZ, and see what they come up with. I've done that a couple of times, and it's like, bzzzt, 15 name ideas come up, right? And then you say, okay, well, that sounds great. Oh, okay. How does that feel? Will you join XYZ name? Will you, become a member of this, special community with name XYZ, right? So see how that fits with your organization. See how it rolls off the tongue, if you will, right? So, but again, don't spend a lot of time on it, and don't wait to get started promoting it. You can always introduce a recognition later on saying, thank you so much for your monthly gifts. Now you're part of this wonderful community that we're calling XYZ, right? Now, two things that I do recommend that when you what you're telling your monthly donors that they're going to get when they become a monthly donors is they can expect updates. You don't have to say how often that is. You don't have to say what that looks like. So we just say donors can expect you, now that you're a monthly donor, you can expect updates on how your monthly gifts are making a difference. And then I do recommend that every January that you give them a tax overview, an overview of all of their gifts, not just their monthly gifts, their one-time and their monthly gifts every January, so that it's easy for their taxes. And also that way you say, look, we're not going to send you monthly thank yous. We're just going to send you one thank you in January with all of your giving. So that way, again, the things that you're sending them become more updates and less like receipty, if you will, right? So, because again, donors want to feel special. They're part of this community. They want to continue to get updates unless they specifically tell you that they don't want to hear from you, but they want to get some special updates. But these are your only two promises. You don't have to tell them about Chotskys or gifts or premiums or, how often, none of that. Just they will receive updates. One of the things I do recommend that the more personal you can make the thank you, the better off you are. And make sure that you have a contact and a phone number and an email address right then and there as soon as somebody makes their first monthly gift. Welcome, Compassionate Care Circle. Great, here it is. Please let me know if you have any questions, right? So, and again, donors will hold on to that. So even if they just give online, send them something in the mail so that they hold on to that. All right. The other piece is, again, I just said you want to make sure that they send updates, right? Is that you segment them in your email list so that you can do something special. So this is an example. It's like an e-newsletter that this organization sends. And in the introduction, it says, as a friend of NPF, right? We want to thank you for your ongoing support as a monthly donor. So and that's really the only difference, right? So you have two versions of the e-news or two versions of an email, but there's a slight variation in the introduction. And again, this will help you down the road if you're starting to upgrade and if you want to send them that tax letter or if you want to do something special, right? So segment them in your email list. And again, share stories. If you're sending something to your donors where you say, wow, you made this happen, send us that same story to your monthly donors, right? With just like that little variation. Thanks as a friend of, kids for kids' sake. Here you go, blah, 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 right? So, so again, continue to share those stories. This is what you're doing in your general fundraising. So you don't really have to make too many changes to that. Because again, donors want to help. Donors care about your organization. They've just invested. They've become a monthly donor. So they want to hear how their gifts are making a difference, right? I mentioned earlier, ask your donors why they're giving monthly. Then you can use that. You can put it on your website. You can use it in an email. You can use it in a letter, right? And get donors are like, wow, you asked me this. This is great, right? So, so again, donors will be honored if you ask them for that. And then somebody seems to be, I think somebody's not muted or whatever, so I have a little bit of backlash there. But now the other thing is, again, we talked about giving days, special giving days, Giving Tuesday. If you have other opportunities during the year where you're asking for extra gifts, for one-time gifts, include your monthly donors. Include your monthly donors at year-end giving. Include them in Giving Tuesday. Include them a couple of times during the year because they want to help. If you make a good case why an extra gift is valuable, they want to help. If you have a capital campaign, consider including your monthly donors in your capital campaign. So it's almost like, think about, what is it that you as a donor who really cares about this organization would be upset about if they didn't know about this, right? So if you're managing a capital campaign and you're going, you're going public, well, include your monthly donor saying, hey, I just want to let you know, we got this monthly donor, this capital campaign going on, and just want to, if you're considering, supporting it, we'd be welcome to discuss it or something, whatever. But you can include them at additional times during the year. But again, it's all about making sure that you are telling the donor that you know that they're already giving monthly, right? So always recognize them and always ask for an extra or special gift. Not just like, oh yeah, because otherwise it's like, don't you know I'm already giving monthly, right? So it's really, really important. And then I said, create a special email segment and take a look at what does your stewardship plan look like for your monthly donors. And again, this sounds silly, but there's like, I work with small and mid-sized and large organizations, and I always start out with saying, okay, well, let's look at what's your donor journey, all right? And who does what where, and how often does that happen? And there's always like something, I didn't know we were doing that. Oh, I thought we were doing that, but we're not, So just like write it down and saying, okay, what happens? A monthly donor joins, what do they get? How soon and who does it, right? So, and again, this is just one example of what a stewardship plan can look like for a monthly donor, but map it out. Again, it sounds silly, but do me a favor and do it. And again, there's so much you can do now automated. So make sure that you know what your system can do. Automated is great, right? But make sure that whatever that automation thing is, that it's customized and it tells the donor what you want them to hear, right? So, because sometimes it's almost like written by Chat GPT, right? So it's very generic. So make sure that you customize it to that. And then this is one of my favorites too. It's like recycle, repurpose, reuse. It is totally fine. If you have a thank you video from your executive director, and you only put it on social media, by golly, put it in an email, right? Or send it as a special thank you video at some point or in the beginning of the new year, whenever it is. So it's totally okay to reuse, because a lot of times donors will not remember what you sent them yesterday, right? So don't overthink it. Take a look and say, what do I have in the inventory? Oh, geez, that was a great video. Why not use that? I mean, I literally worked with organizations that, okay, what is an email that you used successfully for one-time gifts last year? Can we customize that to a monthly gift email? And in many cases, that worked like a charm, right? Donors don't remember what you sent them yesterday. So take a look at what you did a year ago or 2 years ago and say, that worked really well. Why not reuse it, right? So you don't have to come up with brand new stuff all the time, because I know you're busy, right? So it's totally fine to reuse your stories and repurpose. And again, the more personal though you can be, that is always better, right? So again, take a look and say, okay, I can put something, I can handwrite a note, I can involve my board once a quarter and they can write a thank you note, right, to our new monthly donors, for example. So take a look at that. And then here are the key takeaways. It's really important. I hope I convince you that it's really important to generating monthly donors, that's important, and it deserves a little bit of attention. There are many, 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 many tactics to grow. I've shared just a few today. Pick something that you're comfortable with, and then start with a mini story and a button. I mean, what do you get to lose by adding a button to your emails and, creating that little mini nudge, that mini story that pushes donors to go to the monthly donor page, right? But pick something and then start. That's it. I mean, I've given you a lot of ideas, but these are like some low-hanging fruit things that if you've not tried them, I highly recommend that you start. So let me ask you one last question here. It's not a poll, it's just like use the chat. So after everything that I've shared with you today, what are you going to do in the next month or next 2 months to grow your monthly donors? What are you going to do? Out of all of the different things that I've shared with you, what will you do? All right. So Whitney says, create a devoted monthly giving page. Button on the home page. Great. Update website, start emphasizing new communications, survey our existing monthly donor, great, add a button, an email. Monthly donor campaign first 2 weeks of February, yeah, great. Yeah, Valentine's Day is a really great idea. But again, there's really no bad time. Create a monthly donor page, send Earth card birthday postcard, add a button to our e-newsletter, evaluate how to add monthly giving to page. Great idea. Yeah. Include monthly giving button. Identify monthly donors and prospect. Donor perfect. Okay. Yeah. So if you haven't done that, yeah, make sure that you know who your monthly donors are, right? Create a name, send survey. All right. So lots of great ideas, right? But by golly, start with and ask my board to write handwritten notes. Awesome. Create a name, update website, consider casting wider net. Great. Stewardship, send a special email. Oh, okay. So it's been 1 year since we started this recurring empowerment circle. Yeah, I mean, again, I only have 1 hour, so there's like a lot of other things that you can do. You can do anniversary cards and anniversary emails and birthday emails, and I was literally working with an organization today about like looking at their overall stewardship ship plan. So, but yeah, so great ideas. Thank you so much for sharing. So again, you've written it down in the chat here. Write it down on a piece of paper, like saying, this is what I'm going to do in the next month, right? And coming back to that benchmark that I earlier said, write down your benchmark and then what is your goal? I mean, you want to go from 15 to 30 monthly donors by the end of June, right? Or you want to go from 10 to 20, or you want to go from 50 to 100, right? And there's something magical about writing down your goals. You will make it happen. It's just like, but you have to write them down, right? If you don't write them down, it's not going to happen, right? So write down your goals and then, work towards that, because great things are done by a series of small things brought together by Vincent van Gogh. So great things are done by a series of small things brought together. So I mean, all of the things I've showed you and that you're going to implement, they're not huge things. They're not expensive things. They're small things, but together they will work. They will help you grow your monthly giving. Right.
Great,
So,
Erica, we're
yeah,
at five
yeah,
to the hour right now.
yeah,
So I know you're just wrapping up. I just want to do a time check with you.
yep. 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 This is great. So I mentioned here, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Join me on LinkedIn and sign up for my email newsletter. But yes, I'm going to go open it up for questions, and I will dig out some of the questions that some of you had asked as well. So I don't know if type in the question in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, that's fine too. Do you want me to start with one of the questions that I had?
I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So with small 100% volunteer registered non-charity finding conversion, how can we do this on a very tight budget? So the question, if you're volunteer registered, I mean, I would start with your volunteers. So do an outreach and say, would you consider, as a volunteer, would you consider becoming a monthly donor? I did this with one organization. They only were volunteers, and they actually had like the board come up with a little match. So they said, look, if we have 25 new monthly donors by this deadline, then the board was going to give them $1,000 to support the mission. And they were blown away. They got 38 new monthly donors by one email, by having that little match, right? So involve your board. So that I find that having a little carrot that will support the organization as such tends to work well with volunteers. And then a small shop, how do you manage monthly donation? How frequently do you acknowledgement them? I think I've answered that question. Is like you want to just send them updates, and you don't have to send them thank you letters in the mail. So, but you want to send them updates. And again, if you have a print newsletter, send them a print newsletter. If you have an e-newsletter, send them an e-newsletter, right? Your donors want to hear. Donors, I didn't mention that too much about what the target group is, but most monthly donors are donors who give less than $250. They're not your big donors. They're your smaller donors, right? But you probably have a lot more of those. So start there. Um, start there. Start with your smaller donors. And again, of course, if you're having a conversation with a major donor and the major donor says, look, hey, can I do this on a monthly basis? Of course, you're going to say yes, right? But now you might have gotten you may have converted $1,000 donor to $1,200 a year, right? So, or even like more $2,400 a year or whatever it is. But but that's not your typical target group for monthly donors. Those are your smaller donors. Any other questions? Let me see here. Oh, all right. So one person says we have a good amount of monthly donors without doing advertising beyond the checkbox on our donation webpage. Wow. Okay, so how do we launch a campaign to get more while also honoring those that are already giving? So I answer the question like recognize those that are already giving monthly, right? So because you want to make sure that you're not asking them to become a monthly donor again. But then, yeah, I mean, send an email. If you're getting them to do it without much pushing, well, can you just imagine what will happen if you start like adding some buttons and add some emails to the mix, right? And use some testimonials. So that's very encouraging. One other person says, are incentives joining a monthly giving campaign helpful? Tote bag, it all depends. I find that organizations that use premiums, tchotchkes in their other messaging, in their other appeals, whatever, those monthly donors are more conditioned to want something in return. But if you're a mission-focused organization and you've never used a premium, you really don't need to start. So again, donors want to help, and you can make them feel part of your organization by doing something more virtually, like make them part of a once every half year update call from your executive director, or invite them to an event, or something like that, right? So something that doesn't cost you anything upfront.
So we're at 2 o'clock right now, Erica. For
Yeah.
those that still have some questions, please stay on the line. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much for your wonderful insights on how to turn one-time donors to lifelong donors. A few quick reminders as you log out. We appreciate your feedback. I want to give a shout out to our program next month, which is on partnerships with purpose, with expert Sharman Letty, and she will be speaking on collaboration and how that working with others can magnify the impact that your organization makes. And finally, I just want to say that if you're able to support us as well, and if you're able to donate to us on a monthly basis, especially if you are a regular viewer of our programs, we encourage you to give to us monthly as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Thank
again,
you.
you get the recording, and again, in the webinar is my contact information. So feel free to send me any questions after today. So thanks again. Have a great day.